Okay, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you're joining from. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate everybody's support. Today, we're going to be covering 5 of the biggest mistakes to avoid when shipping into Amazon's FBA FCs internationally. My name is Pearl Ausch, and I'm the Chief Operations Officer at First Choice Shipping. And me and my team have helped thousands of Amazon sellers expand their businesses with Amazon internationally. Some of the marketplaces that we specialize in to help you expand include all the EU marketplaces like France, Germany, Italy, and Spain, the UK, of course, Canada, Australia, UAE, and most recently Singapore, and that's been really cool and very exciting. My most important role is being a wife to my wonderful husband and a mother to my adorable children. I included a picture so you guys could see a little sneak peek of what I come home to, so I'm so thankful. So this is what we're gonna learn today. We're gonna learn how easy it is to actually expand your business with Amazon internationally. People think, oh, this is impossible, like where do I start, what do I do? This is actually really easy, and I'm gonna teach you how to do that. We'll learn how to maximize this potential of expanding your market gain through Amazon. It's an unbelievable, amazing opportunity that Amazon gives us. And it's incredible. I speak to people every single day and they're like, this is amazing. I've increased my business double, triple, just by using Amazon's international space. So we'll talk about that too. And we're gonna learn how to do it efficiently. How do I operate this and do this without any mistakes? People make mistakes all the time when expanding, and this is how you mess up, and this is how it's impossible. You make one mistake, and then they're like, oh, we're just gonna give up, and that's it. We're gonna talk about that. We'll teach you how to make 0 mistakes from day one, and it's gonna want you to go full force ahead. Okay, so what is preventing you from expanding? Is the shipping paperwork complicated? Do you not know how to fill it out? Do you remember like when you took a trip to Mexico and on the plane they give you like these, forms to fill out, and your husband is like, oh, how do I fill this out? Or you're trying to get someone on the plane to help you out. We'll teach you how to fill out the proper paperwork when shipping, because you actually need to fill out paperwork as well. Are there too many regulations, taxes that you don't know about, VAT as they call it in some countries? Or is it just a language barrier? Do you think because I'm going to be expanding to Australia, like, is the language different? Did you know they actually are English speaking just like me and you? Or is it just the fear of the unknown? It's a new place, it's a new country, I don't know what to do, how to do it. So is that holding you back? We'll talk about 5 of the biggest mistakes to avoid when shipping into Amazon FBA internationally, and this is how you will be successful. Okay, so this is the #1 mistake I found most sellers are making when they're starting out. Obviously, you're seeing trucks on the street. That will be your first option that comes to mind. They're obviously the most popular carriers. The issue is when you're using carriers like that, they are not e-commerce savvy or Amazon savvy. Amazon has its own set of rules that you need to comply with. And if you're not gonna comply with that, your shipment is just gonna get held up, or actually you might not even get picked up because the driver is gonna be like, oh yeah, this is not gonna work. And it's gonna be returned right back to you. So I'm gonna teach you the biggest mistake people are doing. So let's take a step back and we'll talk a little bit about something called a commercial invoice. What's a commercial invoice? When I'm traveling, I'm going internationally, I need a passport, people to actually see, at the border, who am I, right? Same thing, when your packages are going through security and when you're going internationally, they wanna see what's inside the package, who is shipping the package, who's paying for the taxes, right? When I'm shipping internationally, there will be taxes that I need to pay to the forwarding country. So for example, I'm shipping to Amazon UK. Generally, the tax rate when shipping into the UK will be about 20%, and you're gonna have to pay those taxes. So typically the way it works in the international world, when I'm shipping something out, I need to fill out something called a commercial invoice. On this commercial invoice, I'm gonna have listed the ship from party, the ship to party, which in this case would be, let's say, Amazon, and I'm gonna have to also include what the value is for my goods, and I'm just gonna put in that. Make sure the value that you're putting in is actually the value that you're purchasing your goods for and not what you're selling it for. Because when I'm shipping into Amazon, the cost of goods will be what the value is. The goods are not sold yet. So that's a good tip. I'm just going to add that in. I just thought about it right now, and I know a lot of people might make this mistake. Do not put what you're selling it for. Make sure what your cost is. That's what you're putting down. So going back to filling out this commercial invoice, you're going to have to put down as well something called an Incoterm. An Incoterm is letting customs know who is actually paying for the shipment, the shipping cost, and as well as the taxes. So you're going to want to make sure that you're going to put the Incoterm DDP. And I wrote it right here. You can see it on the slide. It stands for duties and delivery paid for. And that is the only way that Amazon is going to be able to accept it. And quite honestly, at this point, customs knows, Amazon is so large. They'll see a shipment that does not say DDP, and if you're going to make a mistake and write DDU, which in the international world, when I'm shipping to somebody, typically the receiver pays for it. So DDU is a very popular term, which stands for duties and delivery unpaid, and the receiver is going to pay for it. But over here, you're going to want to make sure you're putting down DDP, which is, I would say, the #1 mistake sellers are making in the commercial invoice, so customs knows, okay, duties are paid for, delivery is paid for, we could get it into Amazon. #1 mistake. #2, the biggest mistake, second biggest mistake, maybe I would say the first and the second are the most popular mistakes. Importer of record. What is the importer of record? Importer of record is the person that's responsible for the clearance and security of the shipment. What does that mean? You want to make sure, customs wants to make sure that nobody's shipping, hazardous materials, explosives, hazardous like paint, nail polish, batteries, that would be considered hazardous. So they want to make sure you're not shipping these goods. So the importer of record is going to be the person that's responsible that everything that's being shipped is proper. Now, typically, again, the way DDU, DDP works, the importer of record is usually the receiver in the forwarding country, because it needs to be an address in that country that will act as the importer, because usually the receiver is the one that makes sure that everything is proper, what they're receiving, so on and so forth. Now, Amazon does not want to take responsibility for that. They don't want to have that liability, which obviously makes a lot of sense. So what you're going to have to make sure is that you do have an address in the forwarding country that will act as the importer of record, or find a provider that will be able to provide you with an address. Like in our case, for example, we have warehouses throughout let's say the UK or in Canada. In those marketplaces, we'll have a warehouse that will act as your importer of record. So make sure you're working with a forwarder that will act as the importer of record. Again, if you're not going to have that, Amazon will refuse your shipment, or even customs, because they know the rules at this point, and your shipment is going to get returned back to you. And that leads us into mistake #3, HS code. Some people don't know what this is, and I'll explain to you a bit what HS code is. HS code is a harmonized code or a tariff code. It's basically the code that customs uses to define what you're actually shipping. So, for example, clothing, right? Every single item that I'm actually shipping will have a code within the customs database to let them know what this item is and what's the tax rate for it. Why is this so important to include when you're shipping? So I have my commercial invoice, as we spoke about. We do want to make sure that we have the code of exactly what we're shipping, and we're not just writing, oh, I'm shipping clothing. We want to include the HS code to let customs know a very detailed description of what type of clothing. And the reason for that is because clothing, you can have hundreds of thousands of different types of clothing, and every single type of clothing does have a different tax rate. Now, if I don't include a HS code, what happens is customs is actually going to use the most expensive option on the list, and they're going to charge you for that. And I brought an example. If you look at the slide over here, we do have clothing. We have children's clothing and we have adult clothing. Children's clothing, when I'm shipping actually to the United Kingdom, the example over here, is exempt of VAT, which is 20%, and that's obviously a huge number, and it only has a duty rate of 12%. Versus adult clothing does have a 20% tax rate plus the 12% duties. So if I'm not careful enough and including the HS code, you might just be hit like by an extra 20%, and obviously you don't want to have that. Here's like a short little screenshot of what it looks like on our shipping portal. You would be able to easily search for the right HS code, and it's going to give you the tax rate. So I would just suggest that you take advantage of this feature that we have that's free, and check up for the right HS code. Mistake number 4, not planning our returns. I would say, like, aside from the mistakes people make when shipping, this is like the mistake that most people do not even think about. Because you're selling in the United States, Amazon typically has the option of returning your shipment to your warehouse or your office, wherever that is, because you're in the United States, you're domestic. Now, the same reason why you would need a shipper like ourselves for the international market, because Amazon doesn't provide international shipping, that will be the same reason why you'll need somebody to handle your returns. Because Amazon will not ship your goods back from overseas because they don't provide the international shipping option. Now, what happens is people start selling, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, people return their goods, and now I'm stuck. Like, what do I do with my goods? Amazon wants to dispose it. Make sure before you're starting to actually expand, you do have a returns option in place. And what does that mean? Make sure you have a warehouse that you know you could send it to. Make sure you have a provider like ourselves that can actually provide you with the returns option as well. And there's so many options that you could actually do with those goods. You could have them either send it back to their warehouse from this provider or this 3PL, and have them either relabel it, inspect it, and ship it back into Amazon, or you could send it back to the States, or there are some options that you could actually have them sell it for you, so you don't have to have a loss. Return to something, please take my advice and make sure you have that taken care of before starting anything. Moving on to mistake number 5. I can't say this is a mistake, but this is something that people end up losing a lot of money on. People think that the only way they could expand and the only affordable way they could expand is by shipping via LCL, or it stands for less container load for those that don't know, which means shipping it by sea. Now, shipping by sea obviously is much cheaper, takes much longer, no question about it, it's cheaper. The only issue is when I'm shipping by sea, I do have to ship a much larger amount. And people don't take into account when you're starting out into a new marketplace, you might be super successful right now in the US, and I hope that you are, but it does take about 6 months until your account is optimized in a new marketplace. So you do not want to send in a full container or even a full pallet to start with a new product in a new marketplace. You do want to start much smaller, and this is why we recommend shipping it by air. And we actually have very affordable rates. Work with a partner that has the same type of partnerships that Amazon has with carriers like UPS and FedEx, and being that they do so much volume, you get these incredible rates. You could work with a carrier or a provider that does the same for the international marketplace, and they're going to be able to give you their bulk pricing, and it's affordable. Ship out 1 box, 2 boxes, give yourself a couple weeks, see how it goes, and once you're ready, absolutely, then go for the C option. But don't do that for the starters. You're gonna have storage fees just from something sitting if it's not moving. So take a box, 2 boxes, put in your 10 top selling items, see how it goes, and then let's go ahead and do some LCL. So in short, I hope you really benefited by some of the mistakes that you should avoid. And just to summarize, this is something we can help you with in the process. We could provide you with the importer of record address, a UK address, or any of the other marketplaces that Amazon has FBA. We could act as your importer of record. We have an incredible support team that's there to assist you along the way. You'll have your own dedicated account manager that will work with you with any service that you need. We have this incredible shipping portal that I showed you a screenshot earlier on how the duties and taxes are processed, but it's a very comprehensive system that you could actually create your labels, the commercial invoices, and literally under 5 minutes. It's free. You don't have any obligation. There's no minimum or any maximum that you could ship, and no monthly fee, as I mentioned. And the best part would be that our shipping rates are actually up to 80% off. Here's the SPN link that you could actually reach out to us. It's not clickable on the slide, obviously, so I would recommend you go back to the session page, and there is going to be a link that you could go ahead and reach out to us, and myself, my team, we'd love to talk to you and see how we can help you expand. And here we get to the best part of the session, promo codes. Here's your promo code for today, Amazon Summit. You're going to be eligible for free VAT registration for the UK and for Canada, and 10% off your first shipment. Please join me for the office hours that we're going to have live on September 3rd. Any questions on this session or any questions in general that you have, I'll be there live. Happy to answer any questions. Would love to see you guys. And thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure.